So, in a story that's gone viral across the world, UFC flyweight Polyana Viana was attacked in what she describes as a mugging. Ended up fighting the guy who tried to mug her. Apparently, he used like a cardboard gun, and then in the process, knocked him down, and then was able to put him in a rear naked choke and hold him until the police came. And this became a huge story worldwide. So, just to give you guys an idea how big this was a story that was featured in The Guardian, Yahoo Sports, BuzzFeed. I don't know how big Channel News Asia is out in Asia, but this was in a lot of other big rags. It was in Deadspin, AOL, Unilad. I even saw it come up like on the Daily Wire, which is like a really big conservative news site that Ben Shapiro is a part of. So point being, the story got a ton of traction. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go through the story in terms of what they said happened. Kind of give an idea of how I feel, what I think about it, and then we'll just kind of go from there. So I'll open up the story here from MMA Junkie. So this was the first story that I saw on it. So the headline would be, "Man tries to rob UFC's Polyana Viana in Rio de Janeiro, pays painful price." And I'm not going to read the entire article, obviously. It'd take a while, but just to give you guys a gist of it. She was standing outside of her apartment. A guy came up to her, asked her what the time was. She realized that he wasn't going to go away. She said that he then told her to give him his phone, she said that the robber told her to give her her. Okay, I've been doing a terrible job of describing this. Point being, the robber asked for her phone. She didn't want to give it. Said that he had a gun. She said, "Hey, I'm in close range anyway. I might as well fight her, or might as well fight the guy." Says that she landed 2 punches and a kick, knocked him down, and then from there put him in a rear naked choke, and then held on to him until the police came, even though he wanted to leave. She said, "No, you were trying to rob me. We're going to wait for the police." So this is the picture of the robber after the 2 punches, kick, and rear naked choke. So that's one picture there. I think we have another one over here. Dana White also put up a post on Twitter about it and got, I believe, 60,000 plus likes. It's growing since then too. It's a very popular post. And I think a big reason why a lot of people find this to be so cool is that it's just, for one, when a robber tries to rob someone and they get beat up, I think just in general it's a funny story. But when the robber tries to rob someone, they get beat up, and the person who beats them up is a woman, it just makes it even more enjoyable. So I think the story's resonated with a lot of people because of that reason. But there's something about the story that doesn't quite add up to me, and I don't know why these details are the way they are. What a lot of people might think is that it's because a flyweight or a strawweight beat up a man. That actually isn't something that seems odd to me at all. If you haven't trained before, you might think it's odd that a woman can beat up a man. If you've trained before but you haven't trained with any women, you might think that's odd. But if you have actually had the opportunity to train with some really high-level women, you realize it's not that odd at all. In the end, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighting is largely, it basically is a sport. There are techniques that are involved in it. There are skills that are involved in it. And even if you have certain physical attributes that might make you better off at it, if the gap in technique and if the gap in skill is so large, it can still be made up. One way to think about it is in basketball, for example. In basketball, generally, it's good to be tall and have long arms. A guy who's tall and has long arms is John Jones. A guy who's short and doesn't have long arms would be like a Nate Robinson, who I think is like 5'8". But if Nate Robinson and John Jones played basketball, Nate Robinson would smoke him. To a certain extent, that can kind of apply in fighting too, where if someone is at a size disadvantage and even a strength disadvantage, if the technique is so much better on the side of the person who has the disadvantages, oftentimes they can make it up just with technique. So the thought of her beating up this guy really doesn't surprise me. What does surprise me is that we have this much damage from what she says was 2 punches and a kick. That seems to be a little odd to me. In her last UFC fight, she fought someone who, I guess I would say, is fair-skinned, JJ Aldrich. You would imagine that JJ, if she got hit pretty hard, would probably show damage a little more than some others. Just to pull up the fight metric on that fight. In the fight with JJ Aldrich, this was a unanimous decision loss, although the stats, I guess, in total seemed to side her way. Apparently, round by round, it didn't work out that way. But in that fight, she landed 46 significant strikes and 86 total strikes. So, again, in the street fight, she landed 3 total strikes. I guess you could call them all significant. Now, obviously, there's a difference between cracking someone who doesn't see it coming, is probably on drugs and doesn't know what's going on, and cracking someone who's defending themselves in a fight. But again, 86 total strikes, 46 significant strikes. And this is what JJ Aldrich looked like afterwards. Not even remotely comparable to the guy that she beat up over here. So major difference. Also, if you look at the guy, it looks like he has multiple welts on his face. So what we're seeing is a little bump here, a bump here, and it looks like there might be a little something over here as well. Plus, he's obviously bleeding from the mouth, so obviously he most likely got punched in the mouth as well. A lot of blood all over his shirt. So what that tells me is that this whole thought of it just being 2 or 3 strikes and that's it, that seems fishy to me. Now, why would that? If this isn't true, if it was more than 2 to 3 strikes, why is she lying about it? I guess would be the next question. And the answer to that could go a couple of ways. So the best possible way for her would just be she just wailed on him because it took a little bit more than 2 to 3 strikes. She wanted to make it sound a little more simple, and it's just kind of like a white lie. There really isn't much to it. She was defending herself. She did the right thing. No big deal. There's also the possibility that she had him out with a rear naked choke and then just decided to go to town on him after he was already unconscious and kind of took vigilante justice a little bit too far. And I think the nice thing about one of the reasons why I'm a big proponent of cops learning mixed martial arts and especially learning jiu-jitsu is that the more technical you are, the more trained you are, even though you can be more lethal, you also kind of know up to a point like how much you need to do. So like if you're a jiu-jitsu guy and you get someone in a choke, but just for example, like you look at Ryan Hall, for example, he had that one fight at a restaurant. Like Ryan Hall is going to neutralize the guy a lot easier than someone who hasn't trained before. Even though Ryan Hall is a lot more dangerous because he knows a lot more, he can also do a lot less to be effective. And in the case of Polyana Viana, she probably knew a lot more than this guy. She probably dominated him in the fight. I mean, obviously she dominated the fight, but it seems to me like this description of 2 to 3 punches or 2 punches and a kick plus a rear naked choke leading to this just doesn't add up to me at all. So again, best case scenario for her would just be, yeah, it was a little bit more than what she said, but hey, it's a white lie, not really a big deal. She doesn't want to get in any legal trouble. She really shouldn't get in any legal trouble. Swipe it on the rug, and that's that. But the other possibility could be maybe this guy wasn't as aggressive to her as she said, and they're kind of fabricating a story here. Now, if that's the case, that would be terrible, and you really can't go around beating up guys. I don't think it would make sense for her to do that out of nowhere and then have to fabricate the story. But to me, by having that little detail of 2 punches and a kick, it doesn't seem to add up to me. So hopefully what I'm hoping for the best in this case is what's going on here, and hopefully she was actually defending herself. It was a legitimate self-defense, and maybe she hit him a couple more times than she let on. But the fact that this doesn't seem to add up based on the pictures kind of worries me. There might be something else coming out in that story later on that could kind of have a darker turn than what we know right now.